The Man with the Golden Gun is a 1974 spy film and the ninth in James Bond series produced by Eon Productions and the second to star Roger Moore as the fictional MI6 agent James Bond. A loose adaptation of Ian Fleming's posthumously published in 1965 novel of the same name, the film is Bond sent after Solex Agitator, a breakthrough technological solution to the contemporary energy shortages, while facing the assassin Francisco Scaramanga, the Man with the Golden Gun. The action culminates in a duel between them that settles the fate of the Solex. The Man with the Golden Gun was the fourth and final film in the series, directed by Guy Hamilton. The script was written by Richard Mayerbaum and Tom Mankiewicz. The film was set in the face of the 1973 energy crisis, a dominant theme in the script. Britain had still not yet fully overcome the crisis when the film was released in December of 1974. The film also reflects the then popular martial arts film craze, with several kung fu scenes and the predominantly Asian location being set and shot in Thailand, Hong Kong, and Macau. Part of the film was also set in Beirut, Lebanon, but was not shot there. The film was met with mixed reviews, with some critics describing it as the lowest point in canon up to that time. Christopher Lee's portrayal of Scaramanga as a villain of similar skill and ability to Bond was praised, but reviewers criticised the film as a whole, particularly its comedic approach and the performances of Moore and Britt Ekland. Whilst profitable, the film is the fourth lowest grossing in the series, and its relatively modest returns by comparison with those of Live and Let Die in 1973 reportedly placed a continuation of the franchise in jeopardy. It was the last Bond film to be co-produced by Albert R. Broccoli and Harry Saltzman, with Saltzman selling his 50% stake to J-Jank Limited, the parent company of Eon Productions, after the release of the film. The cast includes Roger Moore as James Bond 007, an MI6 agent who receives a golden bullet, supposedly from Scaramanga, indicating that he is the target of Scaramanga. Christopher Lee as Francisco Scaramanga, an assassin who is identified by his use of a golden gun. He also has a superfluous papilla, or a supernumerary nipple. Scaramanga plans to misuse solar energy for destructive purposes. Lee was Ian Fleming's step-cousin and regular golf partner. Scaramanga had been called the best characterized Bond villain yet. Britt Ekland as Mary Goodnight, Bond's assistant, described by the critic of the Sunday Mirror as being a stunningly stupid blonde British agent. Ekland had previously been married to Peter Sellers, who appeared in the 1967 Bond film Casino Royale. Maud Adams as Andrea Anders, Scaramanga's mistress. Adams described the role as a woman without a lot of choices. She's under the influence of this very rich, very strong man, and is fearing for her life most of the time. When she actually rebels against him and defects is a major step. The Man with the Golden Gun is the first of two Bond films in which Maud Adams appeared. She played a different character, Octopussy, in the 1983 film of the same name. Rumours that also she had a cameo as an extra in Roger Moore's last Bond film, A View to a Kill, are untrue. Herve Villechance as Knick-Knack, Scaramanga's little person manservant and accomplice. Villechance was later known to television audiences as Tattoo in the series Fantasy Island. Clifton James as Sheriff J.W. Pepper, a Louisiana sheriff who happens to be on holiday in Thailand. Hamilton liked Pepper in the previous film Live and Let Die and asked Mankiewicz to write him into The Man with the Golden Gun as well. And Desmond Llewellyn as Q, the head of MI6's technical department. The original novel is mostly set in Jamaica, a location which had been already used in earlier films Dr. No and Live and Let Die. The Man with the Golden Gun saw a change in location to put Bond in either the Far East or the Middle East for the second time. After considering Beirut, where part of the film is set, Israel and Iran were considered, but eventually discarded because of the Yom Kippur War. The production team then chose Thailand as the primary location, following a suggestion of production designer Peter Merton after he saw pictures of Phuket Bay in a magazine. Saltzman was happy with the choice of the Far East for the setting, as he had always wanted to go to the location in Thailand and Hong Kong. Originally, the role of Scaramanga was offered to Jack Palance, but he turned down the opportunity. Christopher Lee, who was eventually chosen to portray Scaramanga, was Ian Fleming's step-cousin, and Fleming had suggested Lee for the role of Dr. Julius No in the 1962 series opener Dr. No. Lee noted that Fleming was a forgetful man, and by the time he mentioned this to Broccoli and Saltzman, they had cast Joseph Weissman in the part. Due to filming on location in Bangkok, his role in the film affected Lee's work of the following year, as director Ken Russell was unable to sign Lee to play the specialist in the 1975 film Tommy, a part eventually given to Jack Nicholson. Two Swedish models were chosen as Bond girls, Britt Ekland and Maud Adams. Ekland had been interested in playing a Bond girl since she had seen Dr. No and contacted the producers about the main role of Mary Goodnight. Hamilton met Adams in New York and cast her because she was elegant and beautiful, and that it seemed to me she was the perfect Bond girl. When Ekland read the news that Adams had been cast for The Man with the Golden Gun, she became upset, thinking Adams had been selected to play Goodnight. Broccoli then called Ekland to invite her for the main role, as after seeing her in the film, Broccoli thought Ekland's generous looks made her a good contrast to Adams. Mankiewicz wrote the first draft of the script in 1973, delivering a script that was a battle of wills between Bond and Scaramanga, who he saw as Bond's alter ego, a supervillain on the stature of Bond himself. Tensions between Mankiewicz and Guy Hamilton, and Mankiewicz's growing sense that he was feeling tapped out on Bond, led to the reintroduction of Richard Maybaum as the Bond screenwriter. Maybaum, who had worked on 6 Bond films previously, delivered his own draft based on Mankiewicz's work. Much of the plot involving Scaramanga's being Bond's equal was sidelined in later drafts. For one of the 2 main aspects of the plot, the screenwriters used the 1973 energy crisis as the backdrop to the film, allowing McLovin of the Solex Agitator to be introduced. Broccoli's stepson, Michael G. Wilson, researched solar power to create the Solex. The Man with the Golden Gun borrowed heavily from the martial arts genre of the time that was popular in the 1970s through films such as Fist of Fury and Enter the Dragon. However, the use of martial arts for the fight scene in the film lapses into credibility when Lieutenant Hip and his 2 nieces defeat an entire dojo. The theme tune to Man with the Golden Gun was released in 1974 and was performed by Scottish singer Lulu and composed by John Barry. Initially, the producers wanted Elton John or Cat Stevens to sing the title song. However, by this time the producers were taking turns producing the films, and Albert Broccoli, whose turn it was to produce this one, rejected the idea. The lyrics to Lulu's song were written by Don Black, who have been described as maliciously ludicrous and insane, and one long stream of smut because of their sexual innuendos. Alice Cooper wrote a song titled Man with the Golden Gun to be used by producers in the film, and they opted for Lulu's song instead. The theme tune and score are generally considered by critics to be among the weakest of Barry's contribution to the series, an opinion shared by Barry himself. It is one I hate the most. It just never happened for me on that film. Now, Moore tries his best as Bond to be as suave and charming as he can be, but I still feel his performance is rather tongue-in-cheek, and just once again falls flat for me as the titular character James Bond. For me, though, it's Christopher Lee's performance as Scaramanga that steals the show. Lee brings a sinister and charismatic presence to the role, and his scenes with Moore are some of the best in the film. The dynamic between Bond and Scaramanga is one of the film's strengths, as they are both skilled assassins who share mutual respect for each other's abilities. The film's action sequences are well choreographed and can be quite exciting, with the highlight being the thrilling car chase through the streets of Bangkok. The film also features some stunning locations, including Hong Kong, Macau, and Thailand, which are captured beautifully on film. However, for me, The Man with the Golden Gun does suffer from some pacing issues and a lack of plot cohesion. The film also features some unnecessary comedic moments that feel out of place in a Bond film. It almost comes across as cartoonish at times. Overall, the film's plot is also very weak, and it just feels convoluted and lacks cohesion. Although Man with the Golden Gun has its moments, it is not particularly a strong entry in the James Bond franchise, and the film unfortunately has plenty of flaws and weaknesses. Not to mention a very forgettable blonde girl here in Mary Goodnight, played by Britt Ekland. Let's put it this way, if you're going to go out of your way to watch all the Bonds in order, well, then you have to watch this one. But if you're wanting to look for the best Bond films in the series, then Man with the Golden Gun is definitely one to give a miss. The Man with the Golden Gun gets a 5 out of 10.